Hi, today we're going to be unlocking a seriously powerful tool in Excel, the Lambda function. What if I told you you could write your own functions within Excel without a single line of VBA code? So stick around, I'll show you what it is, how to use it, and why it's going to save you a ton of time. So let's break it down. The Lambda function lets you create your own individual functions within Excel, just like Excel's inbuilt functions such as sum, XLOOKUP, filter. It's kind of like programming, but with formulas you already know, and it's really easy to do. Let's move over to Excel to have a look at how the Lambda function works. So if we start to write our own Lambda function, just going to press tab there to commit the formula. It's asking us for a parameter or a calculation. To keep things simple, I'm just going to use one letter. We're going to use X. And then if we press comma, it's now asking for a further parameter or a calculation. We're just going to use one parameter for this and one calculation. So our parameter we've defined as X, and our calculation we're just going to say X plus 2. And then we're going to close our parenthesis, and that's going to finish our Lambda. Notice when we press the Enter key there, we now have the calc error. This is because current Lambda we've written does not know what the value of X is. To push a value into this Lambda function, what we can do is in parenthesis at the end, we can define what we want the value of X to be. So in this example, if I put 10, close parenthesis, you'd expect X to become 10, and therefore 10 plus 2 equals 12. Press enter, and there we have it, our 12. We've created our own mini function. Incredibly simple to do, but also extremely powerful once you learn to store and reuse these. Imagine formulas stored all over your workbook, multiple sheets, multiple weeks, periods, years. Suddenly something's changed that affects every one of these formulas. A Lambda could be a real game changer here. Let's look at an example. So imagine we've got a differing tax rate. In this example here, I've just got a simple if statement saying that if the sales value is less than 9,000, this tax is 10%. If it's between 9,000 and 20,000, it's 20%. Or anything above 20,000 is 30%. Now that formula is everywhere within this worksheet. And I've also got an example here where we've got the same formula in weeks 1 data, week 2 data, week 3 data. What happens if those tax brackets change? We'd have to change that formula within all of this workbook. A simpler way around this is to store that calculation as a single Lambda. Let's look at how we can do that. I'm going to start by writing a Lambda function within this cell. And we're going to use a parameter called sales, because we'll need to be checking what the value of the sales is to determine the tax. And then our calculation is going to be if sales, notice as I start typing, it's picked up the parameter. It's less than 9,000, 10%. And then we can change C6 to be sales again. I'm just going to close parenthesis on the Lambda. Now as we commit that formula, you'll see we've got the calc error. And if we remember, the Lambda at the moment does not know the value of sales. So now we're going to pass the value in of our sales. Instead of typing 9,000 in this parenthesis like we did last time, I'm going to point it to cell C6 instead. And you can see we get our 20%. At this point you're probably wondering, well, why is that better? We've got the same problem. If those tax brackets change, we're still going to have to change our formula. So this is where the name manager and Lambda combines really come into their own. Let's look at an example. To open up the name manager, we go to the formulas bar and then name manager, or we simply press Ctrl and F3. We're going to create a new name, and that name we're going to call tax rate. Note within these names you can't have any spaces, so if you need to separate words, consider using underscores. And then this is going to refer to, I'm just going to click OK on that, close the name manager, and we're going to take this formula from here. So Control A, Control C, Control F3 to go back to the name manager. And then on this tax rate, we're going to paste in a lambda function. However, this time we don't need this value in the parenthesis at the end, so we can get rid of that. Then if we press enter on that and close, and instead now in this box we're going to type equals tax, and you can see as soon as we've typed TA, it's recognised that our tax rate is now our own custom function. So I'm just going to arrow down to that and press tab, and then the arguments that it's asking for are a sales value. So if we click on our sales cell, close parenthesis, and there we've got our 20%. We've created our own custom function called tax rate. Look how much cleaner that looks in the formula bar. I'm just going to add that formula to all the cells for this example. And now we're going to deal with the change in tax brackets. So instead of going into all of our formulas that reference that if logic for the tax brackets, we now just have a tax rate function. So to change all of these results, we simply open up the name manager, Control and F3. We can click edit, or we can do it down here, and we simply change the logic once. So for example, if this 9,000 become 4,000, this 20,000 become 10,000. As soon as we press enter, keep an eye on the tax percentages here. Click close, and now you can see these have all recalculated to the new percentages from that one single formula change within the name manager. This makes life much easier when you're dealing with consistent formulas but across multiple places in your workbook. Note these name manager custom lambda functions also travel across to other workbooks by simply copying the cell. So if I copy this cell here where we've got our custom lambda function, I press Control N to open up a new workbook, Control V to paste. If we go into the name manager now, you can see our custom lambda function is now contained within this workbook as well. You can combine the lambda function with a nested let function to keep those formulas even cleaner. So here we're going to build our own custom lambda function. We're going to use the parameters of sales, targets, and commission. And then with the three parameters defined, we're going to move into a let statement. And within our let statement, we're going to check, have the sales met the target in order to achieve the commissions rate. We'll define a parameter within the let. We'll just say is met, and that is going to be sales is greater than or equal to our targets. And then the calculation within our let, we're going to say if is met, take our sales rate multiplied by our commission, otherwise no bonus. Now we've got multiple parameters needed for this, so if we were to feed in our values manually to debug it, we could click on the sales value there, comma, our target value there, comma, our commission rate, close parenthesis because we've now fed in the three parameters that we've defined within our lambda. And you can see there's no bonus eligibility at the moment because 9,000 sales is lower than the target of 10,000. However, if we manually change this cell to be 10,001, you can see the 5% commission has now been applied. Of course, you can do the same with this as we did before. We could copy this, open up our name manager, Control and F3, create a new function called bonus eligible. It's already pre-populated that for me. I'm going to paste into here. We're going to remove our three forced values and we're going to click OK. So now if we close that, and instead in the cell below I'm going to start typing, you can see our custom function has now appeared, bonus eligible. It's asking us for the three arguments that we defined in our lambda, so we can click on our sales, our target and our commission, close our parenthesis, and there we have it. We can copy that down our cells, and instead of this big long formula here, we've got a nice clean custom function called bonus eligible with three simple arguments. And again, if at a later date any of these parameters changed, we can simply do that once within our name manager and that would flow through to all instances where that custom function is being used within the workbook. And there you go. You've built your own custom function using Lambda. Lambda pairs really well with dynamic ranges. Why don't you check out my other videos on dynamic ranges to start using Lambdas with those. If this video's helped you, hit that like button, press subscribe, and let me know in the comments what Lambda function you plan to build next. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you again next week.